TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations.
Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, significant progress has been made in ongoing negotiations to reach a hostage release deal in exchange for far-reaching Israeli concessions. Hezbollah continues to repeatedly breach the ceasefire outline, with Israel drawing aerial strikes against a number of targets in southern Lebanon. The EU stresses it will not lift sanctions on Damascus unless it abandons its jihadist ideology. Significant progress has been made in ongoing negotiations to reach a hostage release deal in exchange for far-reaching Israeli concessions to the Islamist terror organization Hamas. Speaking alongside Danish Foreign Minister Lars Rasmussen in Jerusalem, Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar said that Israel had accepted the latest outline put forth by the Americans, Qataris, and Egyptians in Doha.
We also discussed a possible hostage deal. I told the minister that progress was made. We see some progress in the negotiations. Israel wants a hostage deal. Israel is working with our American friends in order to achieve a hostage deal. And soon we will know whether the other side wants the same thing.
The Danish top diplomat, for his part, stressed Copenhagen's hope to see a hostage release deal realized in the near future, while underscoring further that Denmark remains convinced that a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict remains the only viable path to peace.
So we continue to call for the immediate release of all hostages, including the Danish-Israeli hostage, still held by the terrorist organization of Hamas in Gaza. And as I just said, Israel has a right to defend itself. This right, however, of course, must be exercised in line with international law. And as we discussed, I must say that we are concerned about the number of civilians killed, the lack of humanitarian access, and the long-term consequences in Gaza. There's an urgent need for a ceasefire in Gaza in order to get the hostages out and in order to put an end on the immense suffering of so many innocent civilians. And I really hope that the talks going on in Doha will be concluded in a foreseeable future with a positive outcome. That could be a real game changer. In the long term, and also discussed with Minister Gideon Sa'ar, we find that a two-state solution is the only viable path to peace.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke last night with President Joe Biden and apprised him of the developments in the negotiations for a hostage release deal, while officials have acknowledged to TV7 that an agreement may be achieved in the next few days. However, in the event that an agreement is not reached, the IDF is studying the option of expanding its ground maneuver in the Gaza Strip. Separately, military officials have underscored that the IDF would need another few weeks to complete the operation currently underway in Beit Hanun, which is situated in the northern part of the Palestinian enclave. The presiding IDF assessment is that several dozen terrorists still remain in the area, utilizing terrorist infrastructure that was repaired in recent months. Turning to Israel's northern neighbor Lebanon, where the Israeli Air Force conducted aerial strikes against several targets belonging to the Iranian proxy Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. These strikes were executed after the IDF reported to the ceasefire monitoring mechanism a number of serious violations by Hezbollah of the ceasefire agreement. Nonetheless, no action was taken in response. It is important to highlight that the strikes against Hezbollah targets were conducted merely 3 days after the Lebanese parliament elected General Joseph Aoun, formerly the commander-in-chief of the Lebanese Armed Forces, or LAF, as the new president of Lebanon. During his inaugural address, President Aoun pledged to work to disarm all militias in the country.
My pledge is to exercise my role as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and Chairman of the Supreme Defense Council, that I work through them to ensure that the right to carry arms is exclusive to the state.
President Aoun further pledged, despite Beirut's economy being on the brink of collapse, that Lebanon will reconstruct the devastated regions of its south after Hezbollah launched its unprovoked war against Israel.
My pledge is to rebuild what the Israeli aggression destroyed in the south of Lebanon, Bekaa, Dahia, southern Beirut suburbs, and all parts of Lebanon.
While stressing Beirut's intentions to revitalize its relations with the Sunni Arab world, President Aoun also stressed his hopes for renewed understandings with Damascus under the new leadership of the new Turkish-backed jihadist ruler Abu Muhammad al-Julani.
We have a historic opportunity to start a serious and equal dialogue with the Syrian state, with the aim to address all pending issues between us, especially the issue of respecting the sovereignty and independence of both countries, controlling the borders in both directions, not interfering in each other's internal affairs, the file of missing persons, and resolving the issue of displaced people.
Following President Aoun's address in Beirut, Lebanon's caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati traveled to Damascus for a meeting with Abu Muhammad al-Julani, during the course of which they both stressed a commitment to prevent Hezbollah's smuggling of weaponry via the Lebanese-Syrian border.
We discussed some unresolved problems such as the Lebanese borders and smuggling issues, as well as Syrian deposits in Lebanese banks, and we agreed to have special committees to study this situation in detail. Also, we discussed the situation on the land borders between both countries and the necessity to reinforce the mutual and joint procedures to protect the security of both countries, their sovereignty, and prevent any acts that harm them, their security and stability.
It is important to stress that while the new de facto leader of Damascus, who maintains ties to Al-Qaeda, is working extensively to consolidate his power with the support of Turkey and Qatar, the main objective of the new interim regime is to remove Western sanctions, which prevent aspirations by Ankara and Doha to start reconstructing Syria. Nevertheless, neither the United States nor the European Union, for that matter, are eager to relinquish their most effective lever to ensure that Syria does not fall into the abyss of the jihadist regime, while demanding that minorities will be included in the new leadership in Damascus.
What we start from is, of course, those sanctions that are hindering the build-up of a country, and access to banking services and all these things. But of course, it has to be a cascade with the conditions. So if we see the developments going to the right direction, we are ready to do the next steps. But also, it has to have a fallback position. If we see that it's not going to the right direction, then we can also move back on this. Well, first, of course, is the inclusivity of the government and really the process in this regard. We know in Syria there are a lot of different groups, so it has to include all those groups. We also want to see no radicalization. We want to see inclusiveness of women also in the process. So these are the things that we are going to discuss.
It is important to stress that while Abu Muhammad al-Julani is repeatedly voicing intentions for reform and the inclusion of all minorities, his actions on the ground are actually contrasting, to include the refusal to accept any demands from minorities such as the Druze, Christians, Yazidis, Alawites, and Kurds, while in parallel pushing for Salafist ideologies into the country's educational curriculum, among others, are clearly indicating his true intentions. Meanwhile, as Turkey pushes to consolidate the new regime's hold over Damascus, It highlighted that it would discuss its interests with the incoming Trump administration, as it also aims to ensure Ankara's own national security interests in Syria.
Gerçekten çok yeni bir süreçteyiz.
We are really in a very new process. It has only been a month. But of course we are reviewing this. Our presence in northern Syria will now have to evolve into a different dimension. Hopefully, if everything goes well. We will continue the constructive and open dialogue with the new American administration in this context. We noted Mr. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's statements regarding the key role of our country in the region and globally. We aim to continue the momentum we have gained in our relations with America even more strongly after Mr. Trump takes over the administration.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I hope you all had a blessed transition into 2025, and with that, I would like to belatedly relay to all of you my personal best wishes, and once again, highlight that we could not have produced all of our productions during the course of 2024 without your support and prayers. I'm Jonathan Hessen. Keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel, and God willing, we will see you tomorrow for more updates from TV7 Israel News. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.